project is not only detrimental to BC, but to Canada and globally. In particular, China. It does not appear that Beijing needs to burn more fossil fuels. I ask the panel recommend against this pipeline and suggest that Canada take the lead on forward-thinking, renewable energy, not backwards, unsustainable thinking. An entire world of wind, wave, geothermal, and solar power awaits us. I'm not a scientist, a biologist, an engineer, an oceanographer, or a tour guide. My career is based on creative and logical thinking. My work concentrates on the life safety, health, and welfare of the public. After 25 years of practice in the design and construction industry, the one constant thing on every project is that if something can go wrong, it will. The dreaded unforeseen site condition, poor workmanship, errors and omissions. The question is, how wrong can it go? Likely the people of Japan were assured it was safe to build a nuclear reactor in an earthquake zone. The passengers of the Titanic that the ship was unsinkable. Yet it's clear that things can go very, very wrong. I spent the first 26 years of my life in Calgary, the last 25 in BC. I'm an avid traveler. I've visited many countries, yet I can say with honesty and without exception that BC is one of the most naturally beautiful places on earth. Any time of year, any place you go, you meet people from around the world who have come here to enjoy the natural beauty this province has to offer. Hiking, skiing, whale watching, salmon fishing, viewing grizzly bears in their natural habitat, cruises up the coast, the Gulf Islands. BC is the only place on this entire planet where you can see the spirit bear, the rarest bear on earth. There are places in the world that have been so devastated by pollution they are uninhabitable, destroyed by companies who build their mines, pipelines, and refineries in someone else's backyard, leaving behind toxic water, air, and earth, while a chosen few benefit from this destruction.
Ms. Lutz, if I could just get you to address the panel when you're speaking, that would be helpful to us.
Areas like the Gulf Coast, begging for visitors on TV ads, have most certainly been economically devastated by their most recent oil incident. Tar balls found on the beaches of Texas, many, many miles from the site of the original spill. And shrimp gumbo at the Mardi Gras in New Orleans has been crossed off my bucket list, and not because I've done it already. BC benefits from millions of tourist dollars every year, the majority of which involve trips and activities while traveling up our coast. Many tourists who come here also travel to provinces outside of BC. According to a study of labor demand and supply by GoTo, the BC Tourism Human Resource Association, BC's tourism industry will be a leader in provincial job growth as businesses look to fill 101,000 new jobs by 2020. Tourism is also the largest employer of youth, with 1 in 4 British Columbians under the age of 24 working in the industry. Job stats on the Enbridge website: Northern Gateway expects to create 62,700 persons employment over the construction period, of which 24% will occur in Alberta and 57% in BC. It's not clear what's happened to the other 19%. This only refers to short-term, not full-time jobs post-completion, which would only be 560. To use the label of job creation as a main reason for promoting this pipeline is very misleading. The number of jobs over a number of years that would be lost or severely affected by an oil spill, there can be no comparison. The cumulative effect would be staggering, not to mention the loss of habitat, wildlife, and food. A sustainable commercial and recreational fishing industry alone would be worth many more millions than the few hundred jobs that remain once the pipeline is complete, with most of the income going back to Alberta. Enbridge has attempted to address the avalanche and earthquake issues, but the fact is earthquakes are a natural, unpredictable occurrence in their number, strength, timing, and location. No amount of rhetoric from research can dismiss this as a serious danger factor. Since October 2012 alone, 2 tsunami warnings within a 70-day period. Haida Gwaii and surrounding areas evacuated on both occasions. The tanker safety route video posted appears disproportionate, making the route from Kitimat to Hecate Street look deeper, wider, with smaller tankers and less islands obstruction than in reality. Is it part of the plan to eliminate these islands for real? Are we looking at fraudulent advertising? They also show tankers easily being whipped around by tugs and pushed to shore for loading. How can this be real? With the rocks near shore, wouldn't the pipeline need to be extended over the channel to reach them? How tankers as long as the Empire State Building is tall, carrying nearly as much oil that was spilled over 3 months in the Gulf that required 2 kilometers to stop, could safely navigate this treacherous route is quite simply ridiculous. The very same when the Queen and North sank in 2006, a ship 1/3 the size, still contaminating the local water. The idea of this is a nightmare of epic proportions. It also strikes me as something that would be applauded in a James Bond movie where some madman is attempting to make millions over some heinous scheme. The Dominion News Cooperative writes, gateway tankers will carry diluted bitumen, which is much more expensive and difficult to clean up than crude oil. Unlike diesel, bitumen does not evaporate, and unlike diesel or crude, it doesn't really float. Once spilled in water, it separates into a gas condensate, forming a toxic cloud, poisonous to all life around the spill. Bitumen forms a dense, sticky resin, too heavy to be caught by surface skimmers. It coats surrounding wilderness with a persistent toxic sludge. Tides and currents can carry it over vast areas with severe and catastrophic consequences for fisheries, marine life, and human safety. Enbridge isn't legally responsible for the oil once it's left the pipeline. Spill costs that exceed $1.3 billion will be on Canadian taxpayers. The 1989 Exxon Valdez accident resulted in $3.5 billion in cleanup costs and $5 billion in legal and financial settlements. These numbers do not account for inflation or the ongoing cost to Alaska. Could we afford potential lawsuits by the people and countries affected? Humans can go without food for a period of time, but one thing we cannot go without is water. Yet man continues to plague our supply with contaminants, a practice that simply cannot remain sustainable. Already numerous ocean dead zones, a garbage patch in the North Pacific twice the size of Texas, extending 30 feet below the surface. Radiation poisoning in Japan. Countries with rivers so filled with trash the surface of the water is invisible. Well water in North America can be set on fire due to fracking. How long can this cycle of destruction continue before all water is contaminated? How will money help us then? The amount of water put at risk for this project is simply not acceptable. By way of what is required to extract the oil, the resulting debris, the nearly 800 waterways involved in the movement of this oil. The protection of these waterways and fish habitat obliterated last summer, presumably as a means to pave the way for this pipeline. Like prisoners trapped in a concentration camp gas chamber, marine life caught in a spill would suffer greatly and slowly die, including their food, our food. Salmon feeds the entire ecosystem of the Great Bear Rainforest. The chain affected by a spill would be catastrophic. The importance of the ocean and the effects of CO2 emissions to human survival is evident in a speech made by Vicky Sproul, President and CEO of the Ocean Conservancy to the House of Representatives in 2008. Additionally, with our stupid and irresponsible actions, we are creating an entirely new geological epoch. Anthropocene is a direct result of significant human impact changing Earth's ecosystems, biodiversity, and causing species extinction. Along with environmental protections, last July, this panel's power was stripped from decision maker to recommendation based only. In November, Enbridge celebrated the opening of its Northern Gateway Prince George office. Our Prime Minister has been quoted as saying it will go ahead regardless. A Canadian icon like David Suzuki, labeled a radical. That we even have to sit here fighting for our coastline and our economy boggles my mind. I can't help but feel hopelessness and despair that our environment, quality of our ocean and economics will get kicked to the curb for a project that when you get down to fact, only benefits few, yet puts into serious peril the lives and livelihoods of so many more, human, animals, and marine life alike. If people believe this false economy is more important than our environment, perhaps they can try holding their breath while they count their money. I do not have children, but I care deeply about the next generations. Often I hear parents say they want their children to have what they never had. Somehow, I do not believe that included toxic earth, air, and water. One day, people will say, why didn't somebody do something? And I'm here today to say, we are somebody.
Thank you.